welcome to Ron's Basement. Today we are pleased to be joined by Jorge Ganoza, CEO of Fortuna Silver Mines. They are an intermediate gold and silver producer. They have about 5,000 employees, 4 active producing mines right now, one in Mexico, one in Peru, one in Argentina, and one in West Africa, with a new mine under construction. Their management team is generally regarded as being one of the top in the industry. And once again, we're pleased to have Jorge with us today. Jorge, thanks for joining us.
Ron, it's a pleasure to finally meet and join you in the program today.
That's right. Hey, you get to join me in the basement today. Hey,
yeah.
I would imagine my viewers might be interested to hear kind of a history of the company. If I have this correctly, you kind of started the company and have, created value and grown it to where it is today. Could you maybe share a little bit about that?
Yes, Fortuna is really the brainchild of 3 individuals, 2 associates of mine, Simon Ridgway, Mario Schottlander, who continues in the board today, Mario, and myself. And we came together back in 2004 with the idea of putting together a silver mining company. So back then it was big ideas, little money, and 3 of us.
Right.
So it's been quite a ride, quite a journey for the company.
Okay.
Today, as you mentioned, we're over 5,000 people making Fortuna happen every day across 5 countries, 2 continents, listed on the NYSE and Toronto. So the company has grown significantly, and we have created a lot of value for our shareholders along the way.
Right, and market cap of almost $1 billion currently in U.S. dollars. That is, so you've grown quite a bit.
Yes, we are producing gold at the tune of about 400,000 ounces of gold equivalents per year, about 20% of that being silver, no?
Right.
If we talk on a gold equivalent basis, as I said, is about 400,000 ounces annually. We still are a meaningful silver producer with about 5-6 million ounces of silver a year. We're a low-cost producer. Or all-in sustaining cost on a gold equivalent basis is around $1,100. So the company is quite strong and coming out of a difficult 2021.
Sure.
But the future looks bright for us. At these price levels at around $1,800, I know we all have expectations for higher precious metal prices, but we have a thriving business in this price environment, no doubt.
Yeah, I heard you mention that recently, that even at these prices, the company can make a profit, and I think that was demonstrated in the first quarter, if I'm correct. When you released your first quarter numbers, those looked pretty good. Is that correct?
Yes. If you allow me here, my view, at a personal level, I can have an expectation with respect to precious metal prices or where should they be or not. But as I ran the company and I have to be a bit of a price agnostic, because my job is to provide investors a true call option on the higher prices.
Sure.
So, and by that I mean, if higher prices come, and when they come, you have in Fortuna a great vehicle to benefit from that. But if it takes longer, or we have to endure corrections along the way, you will find in Fortuna a company that's still doing good and performing excellent and still having a thriving business even in a low price environment, right?
Yeah.
So that is what provides optionality for the investor. Investors can time in when they come into the precious metal sector and can come in and come out. No, and I mean that's a decision that every investor makes all the time. But when we run mines, we're long every day. And my family's been in the mining business for 4 generations. So I always say that I have been long precious metals for 4 generations. So
Sure.
eh,
Can I
you
ask
know,
you a question? I have to ask you one question. Do I remember correctly that you said you were born in a mining camp? Is that correct?
I was born in the city of Lima, but at a very early age, I was taken to a mining camp. My
Okay.
father worked in a mine, and I spent my early days, my childhood vacations, summers were at a mine.
Sure.
And my family's been involved in mining, as I said, for 4 generations. My family has owned and operated mines um, in Peru and other places
Sure.
for many, many years, right? So, no, it's we are four brothers, and 3 out of 4 are in the mining business, right?
Okay. So it runs in the family, no doubt.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
no doubt.
How about the four current operating mines? My sense is that things are going very well at all four of the locations. Is that a safe statement to make?
Yes, mining is a hard business, and mining is someone described it as just an addition of one problem after the other, right?
Right. Yeah.
So in spite of challenges here and there, we managed to run a sound business that delivers some guidance, right?
Hmm.
So our operations are performing along with our guidance and expectations. There are challenges every day, and that's what we're here for, right? To resolve those.
Right.
Yeah, mining is a difficult business for
Right.
sure.
Well, and I know in particular last year was tough with building the new mine in Argentina, dealing with the remote location, dealing with COVID, and especially the restrictions in Argentina. But it seems like Lindero is really starting to operate up to plan, which is good to see.
We have had 3 good consecutive quarters. Our record production came in the fourth quarter at Lindero with 36,000 ounces of gold in Q4.
Hmm.
Q1, we delivered around 30,000 ounces at an all-in sustaining cost of $1,038 per ounce all-in sustaining. So the mine is performing. It's where we have overcome the challenges of commissioning and ramping up a mine in through the worst of COVID, right? But
Right.
that's largely behind us.
Right.
We're looking forward to deliver according to our guidance, right?
And it's my opinion that you're a very modest person. I'll throw in there that Rick Rule recently said about you and Fortuna that complimented you on your track record of delivering. That over the years, as you've made acquisitions, as you've built mines, that you have always been able to deliver on what you promise. And I thought that was a big compliment, especially to hear from Rick Rule.
Yes, absolutely. If there is someone who knows about investment in the mining sector, is definitely Mr. Rule.
Right. Besides
and
Ron from
and
Ron's Basement, right?
yes, and yeah, yeah. So no, particularly him not being a shareholder of the company, hearing that from him is always welcomed. And we try to run a steady ship. I'm not a promoter. I'm a mining engineer. I'm a geological engineer. I try not to put the carriage in front of the horses, no, and always very try to keep humble, because this is a very difficult business, and you get reality checks all the time, right? So, uh, yeah,
And
keep it. try to keep mistakes small,
Hmm.
right? And try to work with the best people you can, right?
Sure.
And that's something that we do.
Right. And I think we'd rather have the CEO focused on running the business than out promoting the company. You want to do a fair amount of that, but obviously, I think as a shareholder, I'm happy to hear that you're laser focused on dealing with issues as they come up. And
Yeah.
so you recently, oh, go ahead, Jorge.
No, I wanted to say that yeah, communicating the company and being the main ambassador of Fortuna is my responsibility and one that I take very seriously, and that's why I'm happy here with you sharing and about our progress. And talking about precious metals and whatnot, but I like to focus on the things that I can control, and I know that I have a lot of other colleagues and in the CEO mining CEO space that are very good and outspoken promoters of gold, and we also need that, and I praise them for that. But myself, I try to focus on the things I can control, right?
Right, right. Get and deal with issues as they come up and accomplish goals. You had the Rocks Gold merger last year. Um, that brought in one operating mine in Africa, which is doing well. But right now you have another mine under construction, Seguela. Is that correct?
Yes, or or acquisition of the business in West Africa uh, was controversial
Sure.
last year.
Yeah.
It caught some investors by surprise.
Yeah.
We always knew it was going to be controversial, and but we always saw it as some short-term pain for long-term gain. What we acquired was a platform for business. We acquired not only an operating mine, but like you just described, an operating mine with strong free cash flow generation, a most exciting development project, which by now is half built,
Right.
exploration properties, and a quality team of people. One of the things I like the most about Roxgold was the team. No, really
Right.
seasoned West African operators with that even though we've been growing our business and on the Latam side of the spectrum, uh, we share a lot of similarities with respect to our views on how we create value for shareholders.
Sure.
So it is, you don't find that all that often. No, it's easier said than done. Yes,
Right.
no. So good technical guys, and so the integration of the business has gone well, and I really look forward to continue exhibiting the strength of the combined company. We just released exploration results this week on Seguela. Incredible results.
Yeah.
Our best intercept of 18 grams gold over 11 grams. Sorry, 18 grams gold over 11 meters on a deep drill hole that expands the high grade core of mineralization at the newly discovered Sunbird deposit in the Seguela mine camp. Seguela is half built.
Right.
We construction is 52% complete by now.
Mm-hmm.
That will be our fifth mine once in operation in mid 2023. We managed to keep through the acquisition and the construction a very healthy balance sheet.
Right.
So the business is doing quite well. And a fun fact, like my daughters say, uh, West Africa, if you group the gold producing countries of West Africa, Ghana, Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast, the gold producing region of Mali,
Mm-hmm.
which is southwestern Mali, Guinea, if you group those countries, the surface area,
Right.
no, of
Mm-hmm.
that outline is the size of the state of Texas,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So that small region is the largest gold producing region in the world,
Mm-hmm.
ahead of China, the US, Australia, Canada. So It's really the place to be if you want to be in the precious metals business, right?
Yeah, if you had told me 3 years ago that I would have a significant investment in a mining company with operations in West Africa, I would have said you're crazy. Um, and then when the acquisition of Roxgold occurred, and I began over time to learn more and more about the benefits of West Africa, I'm more excited about personally West Africa now than I am, let's say, Mexico. There's a lot of infrastructure in place. Haven't they been mining there like over 30 years? So there's a lot of the vendors, everything already there.
Over the last, I'll say, 2 decades, West Africa has consolidated as the most prolific mining jurisdiction in the world. And what does that entail? You have well-developed industry clusters. So you have pools of knowledge, service providers, engineering firms, contractors, equipment manufacturers with good presence in the region.
Right.
So all of that lends itself to being effective. We are building a 3,700 ton per day mill
Mhm.
for $173 million.
Wow.
I'm sure you're acquainted with Lundin Gold in
Sure.
Ecuador, the
Yeah.
Fruta del Norte deposit, which is a world-class deposit, no doubt.
Mhm.
But to build the 3,500 ton per day mill and mine
Right.
for the Fruta del Norte deposit, the capital cost of that was $690 million.
Right. Wow.
Including ancillary facilities and all. And I know that it's sometimes not fair to compare one to the other deposits because each
Right.
one has its own peculiarities. But we're building a 3,700 tons per day mill and mine with
Mhm.
ancillary facilities for $173 million,
Right.
just a fraction of what it cost in Ecuador,
Right.
which is not a mining jurisdiction. Ecuador is not a mining country,
Right. So the infrastructure is not there. The vendors aren't there. Right. Makes sense.
everything is more difficult, more challenging. There is no other place in the world that has permitted so many new gold mines like that part of the world. And when I say that part of the world, that is that area that encompasses all of these countries, which is the size of the state of
Right.
Texas, right?
Yeah. So it's a good place to be.
Absolutely.
Let me ask
The
you.
grades, the average grade of 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 the Carlin trend, for example, in the U.S., is under a gram of gold, right? On
Mhm.
for the open pit deposits.
Right.
In West Africa, the average grade is probably more like a gram and a half,
Right.
1.8, or Seguela deposit average grade is 2.8 on the
Mhm.
reserve,
Wow.
right? Almost 3 grams.
Well,
So, you know,
along those lines, I was digging through the website a little more last night. Outside of the current mine and the current exploration footprints at both Yaramoka and Seguela, you also have like large tracts of additional exploration properties. Is that correct? The
yes,
Busora, I
but
believe one of them. Yeah.
yes, Bosura, and we also have additional mining claims and concessions more than claims in Ivory Coast.
Okay.
Uh, but you know, before we get adventurous and far from where we currently are working, the Seguela deposit, the Seguela mine is
Mhm.
being we're building. We control 30 kilometers
Okay.
of the strike on the structural corridor that hosts those deposits. 30 kilometers. Within those 30 kilometers, those are line kilometers,
Mhm.
uh, we have around 40 prospects that we have not touched yet beyond surface sampling and some surface work. So even at home, I'll say at Seguela,
Right.
we have years of work to cover. And on top of that, as you pointed out, we have our exploration concessions in Burkina Faso and Ivory Coast, right?
Okay. So we could be looking at decades of opportunity.
There is so much value for us to harvest from the West African portfolio. I mean,
Right.
I just see tremendous opportunity in right in front of us, and the results show. I'm not arm waving. Look at our latest press release. No,
Right.
I mean,
Right.
there I think we do. That release went out on Monday,
Okay.
and what you see there is just a good. Sorry, Tuesday I believe it went out.
Yeah.
Uh, we put a good inventory of prospects within the Seguela property, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll point out as well, if my viewers want to hear a more detailed discussion of the drill results, you did an interview this morning with Chris Marcus from Arcadia Economics, if I have that correct. And is it Paul Whedon? He's the kind of the manager. He was in on that. I'll put a link to that in the description below. They can watch that for even some more detailed info on the drill results.
Yes, this morning we were invited to Chris' program, and were there with Ravi Faber and Mr. Klansler.
Yeah.
Uh, it was fun, and Paul Whedon, our senior vice president of exploration, was there, and yeah, we had a good chat there with the Silver Gang.
The Silver Gang, right? Well, like I said, I'll put a link to that in the description below. I think the last thing I'd like to touch on is the value of the value proposition of the stock right now, and I think there's two things that I want to touch on with that. Well, maybe three things. I have a background in accounting, so I can read financial statements and really dig into the balance sheet. I find it amazing, Jorge, that the market cap of the company is $1 billion and the net tangible assets, the value of the assets less debt is $1.4 billion. And you're a company that's making profit and positive cash flow. I know the market is what the market is, but I just find that to be an astounding value opportunity. And I'm wondering, how much did that play into the decision to instituted a stock buyback program recently?
Yes, and we are acting on it.
Good.
You can see our insider filings,
Okay.
and yeah, no, absolutely. I believe there is a big discrepancy between market value and our net asset value, right?
Sure. Sure. And I also
Uh,
noticed.
so, and if you look at Fortuna from the perspective of comparable multiples on price to cash flow, price enterprise value or EBITDA or whatever metric you want to see, the truth is that we had a challenging 2021.
Mhm.
No, 2021 was a challenging year for the company. We had three events that impacted value. We took a reduction in guidance at our Lindero mine,
Mhm.
which you alluded to earlier in our conversation.
Right.
The challenges of COVID and ramp up and all of that. Second, the Rocks Gold acquisition was controversial, no doubt.
Sure.
And we always knew it was short-term pain for long-term gain. And last but not least was our Mexican standoff with the environmental agency at the San Jose mine in the state of Oaxaca in southern Mexico. Our mine never stopped operations for one day. We never stopped. We were never impaired from operating, and we continue operating today. We got our permitting issue resolved, and so, but all of that was just difficult news, three difficult news,
Right.
one after the other
Right.
in one year. And that weighted heavily on investor sentiment and whatnot. And I understand that. I respect that. but you cannot escape from fundamentals,
Right.
and those are what they are. We generated sales of $180 million in the quarter, in Q1. Our EBITDA margin was around 45%, or EBITDA $80 million, or we generated record adjusted earnings. We generated adjusted net income of $33 million in the quarter.
Yeah.
All of our mines, all of our gold mines ran under $1,100 per ounce, all in sustaining. Our silver mines at around $15-16 all in sustaining. No, so the business was so. Yes, we instituted the non-core issuer bid, share buyback program, basically,
Mhm.
and I myself been doing some buying in the market,
Yeah.
and yeah, no,
I
that's good.
noticed. I noticed you bought a what to me anyway was a significant new purchase of the stock, and it's always great to see that the CEO is buying stock and putting on the open market and putting his assets and his money into the company that he's running. So, have you ever seen one last question? The sentiment, overall sentiment right now in the gold mining sector, most people say is really low. Have you ever experienced it being this low right now?
Uh, I'll say yes,
Yeah.
because I was in the business back in the early 2000s.
Okay. Right.
But I would have to say that the big difference I identify today is with mining equities. No, so uh, uh, don't get me wrong. I think the sentiment around precious metals first, right? I
Right.
think it was dismal back in the early 2000s. No,
Mhm.
dismal, late 90s, early 2000s. There were discussions about if gold was ever going to be a store of value again, that it was more valuable to hold water than gold. Why hold, those kind of discussions were taking place
Right.
back in those days. Uh, and all of a sudden things started to change, and by 2006, 7, prices were ramping up. But today, at 2000, $1,800, I believe gold should be much higher. Huh? Don't get me wrong, but
Right.
I don't think it's a bad price. I
Right.
think every miner should be making good money at this price. The problem is the market, the equities. I think gold should be much higher, but the main disappointment, I believe, is in the equity, in the valuation of the equities.
Right.
Uh, and I think the market investors are distracted. And what do I mean by distracted? In some years ago, the distraction came with the ETFs,
Mhm.
right? So
Right.
the ETF became a distraction for the investor. On the flip side, an option, right? Another option to participate. Before, you could only take part in the precious metals business buying physical, going into derivatives, right?
Mhm.
Or buying the miners, mining equities, derivatives, or physical. If you wanted to get exposure to gold or silver, you only had those three options. Gold, which if you want to buy large quantities is risky and difficult to store.
Mhm.
Second, the derivatives, which are quite risky for anybody. And last, the mining equities. So, then we had the ETFs.
Right.
But now I believe the investors are faced with, or distracted with Bitcoin,
Sure.
with the lithium, nickel, the green revolution,
Right.
and so Tesla, you
Right.
know. Uh, so I believe that the investor right now is just distracted,
Right.
and the money flows are just spreading between more asset classes and more options. but the fundamentals, I believe, remain for the store gold and silver being stores of value, right?
Right.
Uh, and the role those plays in anybody's portfolio, right?
Right.
Uh, so yes, I think we're in a bad funk. We're in a bad, there is a bad sentiment. I seen it worse, but because I just been mining for too long, perhaps.
Since you were a little boy, right? Well, and I was talking to Carlos, your investor service rep, this morning, and I brought up to him. I said, "Well, the one good thing is that if sentiment is so bad, which it is right now, and there's so little, money flows coming into the business, but we're surviving, right? We're making it. Fortuna's making it. You know that when it does turn, it's a lot easier to get a huge percentage increase from a small number than it is from a big number. And I think, like you said, these things change.
Yeah, and my responsibility, as I said to you before, I think I have an opinion on precious metals, and believe me, my opinion is that there should be much higher. But when I run a company, I have to be a bit price agnostic,
Right. Right.
because I need to provide you, the investor,
Right.
with a good call option, and by that I mean a business that, while the big hike in prices takes place, and it can take a while sometimes,
Right.
or there can be some big corrections in between, you're invested in a thriving business, in a business that will not go bankrupt with
Right.
15, 14, $1,200 gold, no?
Right.
And we thrive. We're thriving at $1,800 gold.
You're right.
And again, I believe gold should be at $5,000, if you ask
Right.
me. It's so darn difficult to get it out of the ground these days that
Right.
it should be at $5,000.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think,
No,
and
but
you mentioned that
go ahead.
earlier in the interview, and it's something I want to I think bears repeating, that your business is thriving now, can survive, right? As you look at the worst case scenario, can still survive and not go bankrupt, can do well even at a lower precious metals price. But the upside, there's kind of limited downside, but we won't say unlimited upside, but much, it's an asymmetric type risk. There's so much upside potential, and kind of a limited. There is definitely risk, but the downside risk is less than the upside potential.
And that is my job. I need to provide you with a good, strong call option on precious metals. No,
Well, I
yeah.
I believe you're doing that for me and for all the shareholders of Fortuna. Um, Anything else you'd like to add, Jorge?
No, it's been a pleasure
Yeah,
chatting and telling you about the company, and I look forward to a future opportunity.
yeah, definitely. And on behalf of myself and all the people that watch the Ron's Basement videos, thank you for your time. The website is fortunasilver.com. Is that correct?
Yes, and if you have inquiries at info@fortunasilver.com,
And
and we'll
Carlos,
get back to you.
Carlos will get back to him. They can harass Carlos, right?
Yes, yes. Harass him, please.
Right. He's great. I can vouch that anytime I've had any questions, he's very responsive and does a great job as well. So thanks a lot, Jorge, and I'll look forward to talking to you sometime in the future.
A pleasure.